Hi everyone, welcome to new video of our Python basic series. In this series, I am going to discuss one of the very important topic that you can see over here, tuples or you can say tuples, right? Everything is fine. So what all the topics that we are going to discuss in this video, we are going to learn what are tuples or you can say tuple and accessing tuple elements, looping in tuples, and then some of the basic operations that what we have in tuples. Those are the things we are going to discuss in today's video. Okay. So if I say what is tuple, right? Let's get into the discussion of what is tuple. Tuple, as you know, in our previous video, we already learned about the list, right? So, what is list? We know that list is a collection of data which is you can say sequential type of data type which is going to store a collection of data for us. And how the way we are using list, that is within a square braces we are adding a multiple data inside of this list, right, with the comma separated. Let's see, 1 2 3. So we have three data inside of this square braces, and we are separating them with the comma. That is nothing but list for us, right? So similarly for tuples in Python, we are handling multiple set of data. Okay, so what we are doing actually, the collection or you can say set of data which are stored within parentheses. Okay, within parentheses, you can say within parentheses. Okay, so how do you say store the data in Python? We store, let's say my set, I am giving a name called a is equal to, and if I use the parentheses, and after that we are adding couple of data, let's say I am storing 10, 12, 15, right? So these are the data which I am storing inside of a container. That container is nothing but my tuples. Okay. So at the same time we are storing multiple set of data, and we are using parentheses which is you can say single parenthesis we called. So this is nothing but a tuple, right? So the way we create a list is like we have to use the mandatorily these square braces, and for tuple it is mandatory to use the parentheses here. This is something which is needed for tuples. Now one thing to understand over here is, let's say if we are using tuples, it's not always that we have to use the numbers. We can even use combination of different type of data types, like if I say a is equal to, and then say I say Java, right, and then I am giving some another text, let's say Python, right? So in this way also I can create my tuples. I can have a set of let's say strings that is also be will be created as tuples. Not only that, we can have combination of numbers and combination of my strings. Let's say if I have a data like this way, and I am saying 10, 20, and then I am saying some number, let's say sorry, some of the, let's say uh, string variables, let's say I'm saying apple, right? So this also is going to be my you can say tuples. So it's not mandatory that I have to use similar type of data. We can have multiple type of data in a single tuple as well. Okay. Okay, now let's go to directly to our Jupyter notebook, and we'll see some of the programming over there, and how tuple is, how we can store the data there. So here I have my Jupyter notebook already open, so I will be writing code over here. Okay, so now let's see how we can define a tuple, right? So if I say, so let me give some name. Let's say I'm creating a empty tuple, right? So if I say a is equal to this, right? So this is nothing but a empty tuple for me, right? So if I run this code now, if you print A, you can see we are getting an empty tuple printed over here, right? I'm increasing the size so that it will be very visible to you guys. Okay, so now you can see we are getting it printed as a tuple, that is an empty list, right? If you want to check the type of A, so you can print it. Let's say I'm seeing printing A right now, and after that I want to print let me print there itself, so I can say type of A, right? So if I run this code now, sorry, I'll leave it. Okay, now if I run this code, you can see it is printed an empty tuple, and it is also printed what is the type of it, right? So it is saying that tuple. Hope this is understandable. So this is how we create a empty tuple. So we can say empty tuple, right? Tuple without no data, right? So now let me create another tuple cell over here. So if I say I want to create a tuple with some data. Let's say I'm assigning some data. Let's say 10, 20. I'm assigning 24, assigning 30, assigning 43, right? So these are the list of data that I am going to assign to a tuple. Let me add some string type of data as well. Let's say I'm saying Python, right? And let me add some, you can see, decimal pointer number as well, right? So I'm assigning this, and after that I want to print a value of a. So if I say print a, let me just print a. So if you can see over here, it is printing the complete tuple, that what we have right now, right? One thing here is interesting thing to understand, that whatever the data that we are entering into a tuple, you can see the order of the elements, order of the data inside of tuple is maintaining, right? So what I mean, the 20, if I inserted this data into second position, it is there always going to be at second position, right? So it maintain the order of data. So can we write down that point over here? The tuple maintains the order, right? Now next point is what we can say. Let's say instead of I have a multiple data, I have a let's say single data only. So what I am saying, let's say I am saying I am assigning 100 into a tuple, right? Now I let me print the tuple. If I print, you can see what is the print is statement is not printing me in the format of tuple. Do you are you able to understand what is the format of tuple? Format of tuple is something when we can see the data within a parenthesis. Okay, if there is a parenthesis, then that is a tuple. If there is no parenthesis, so you can understand that is not a tuple, right? So here also, if still even if there are no data, right, but the print we have got from there is a with the parenthesis, but here we are not getting with any parenthesis. So this is not actually a tuple. To get a data within, you can say, as a tuple, here is we have to mandatorily add the comma. Okay? One single comma is required for if you are going to store your data, if you are going to make it as a tuple of data tuple, right? So now if I execute this code, you can see we are getting their parenthesis. And if you want to check uh, the type of A, let's say I'm saying type of A, right? So if I say this, you can see now I'm getting tuple. But what if I do not use the comma? Let me add it over here. I'll say, so let's say what I'll do over here, I'll remove that comma. Now if I run this, you can see it is just considering as a single integer type of number, not a tuple, because even though we have used the you can say parenthesis, but it is not considering as a tuple, because the reason, when you have single data, you must have to use comma after the data. Here if you are not using comma, then it is going to treat it as a integer number type, depending on the what is the content. If it is a string, then a will be considered as a string, right? If this data is an integer, then the you can say the data type of A is going to be integer. Okay, so if we are not using comma, then it will not be treated as tuple, right? So for single element we must have to use the comma. That is what you got to know right now. Okay, now let's see how can we access the data from a tuples, right? So the points we are going to discuss now: accessing data from tuple, right? So how we can access the data from the tuple? Okay. So as you guys already have seen that the OE, or you can say the order of insertion, into a tuple is maintained when we are going to print the data. So we can access the data from a tuple with their indices as well, right? So whenever something is maintaining the order of insertion, then you can always think of that we can get the data, or we can fetch the data by their indices, right? And we know in programming languages indices generally start with the 0, right? So we can access it like, I have a tab of data, let me copy the from above, right? So this is something I'm going to copy right now. So let's say I have this tuple and I want to print data. So let's say I'm going to paste data from indices 1, right? So what will be the output from this? We can see 20 is the output, right? So 1, 10 is at the index of 0. So if I print 1, then it will going to return me 20, right? That is something we do know already, right? So what we can do, let me copy this completely. I'll say print, I'll be doing print inside of this, and after that also I want to use print. Let's say if I want to print the data from the you can say opposite direction, right? So in list you have seen we are using -1 to get the data from the opposite direction, right? So similar way here also, if you pass -1, so that means the last data from the list is going to print me, right, from the tuple, right, from the tuple. If you provide you can say print a of -2, then we are going to get the data at the from -2, right? So this is the -2 position, this is -1, and this is going to be -2, right? This is -3, -4, and so on, right? So if I print it like this way, you can see we are getting the -2 position data. So this is how you can access the data by using Python with their indices, right? Let's see how we can get you can say set of data, subset of data, or you can say how can we perform the slicing operation like similar we did in list, right? So we can see what you can see, get you can say slice of data, right? SLICING, right? What we are going to discuss right now, slicing, right? So I'm going to, what I'm going to do, let's say I have this data and I want to print from particular location to particular location, right? So if I say print and a of, I can see from position 1 to 4, right? So this is how we did a slicing in a list. So here also you can see if we pass start index and end index, so we are going to get the data from the start index to end index -1. So means 1, 2, and 3 index we are going to get the data. This is 1 index, 2 index, and this is 3 index, right? 1, 2, and 3. So these are the data we are going to get over here. So similarly, not if you do not want to pass, you can see the start index or end index. Similarly, from the list what we did, right? So all these things you can test over here. So let's say I do not mention the ending index, right? For this one I do not want to mention the start index, right? So it will be behaving the similar like we have seen already there in the Python list, right? So I'm not going to show all these operation over here. Whatever the you can see functionality we have seen from this slicing operation in list, so it is completely similar. Only the difference is we are using here parenthesis in tuples, right? Okay. Now let's talk about how can we loop through a tuples, right? So similarly, Python list, right? We have seen already how to loop through a Python list. We have used three type of loops, right? We have used while loop, we have used for loop, and for with enumerate, right? So similarly here also we can say there are three type of loops. So can we say it like this way? Can we say loops in you can say tuples, right? So we are going to discuss the loops in tuples. So what all the loops we have here? We can say while loop we can use. Similarly, we can say for loop, and we can say for with enumerate, for with enumerate function, right? So these are the you can say main three ways we can use the Python loops, right? Loops in loops through the tuples, right? Now let's see how can we use the for loop, while loop, for loop, or enumerate, for with enumerate loops, right? So if you want to go it with the while loop, what we can, how can we use this? I'll be using the same a. So if I print the a, you can see this is the content of my tuple, right? So if I want to print, or if I want to go through the loops, how can we achieve that, right? So if I use, let's see, I want to traverse through the by using the while loop, right? So how can, what we can do, this is my tuple, I have a, and I want to achieve, I want to use while loop. Let's say while, and inside of this while I want to use the condition, right? What is the condition is going to be? Let's see, I less than you can see till when, right? Till how much you want to traverse through a while, right? So I want to use the length function over here, which is going to return me what is the length of my tuple, right? So I'll be passing the tuple name. So it will be help me to loop through a length, but here I did not assign the value of I. So let's assign that value first, and I'll see I is equal to 0, right? I'll be starting from I equal to 0, then I'll be printing one by one data, right? So I can print, what I can print, I can print you can say a of I, right? That is something we want over here, just to print the data. And we can print also, we can do the count increment, right? So I can say plus equals 1, right? So if I use this loop now, you can see it uh, it actually all printed all the data from this tuple, right? So it, this is how we can use the while loop to traverse to a while tuple. Or this is the similar way, there is no difference between list and tuple, you can say looping, right? So I'm just showing you over here. So let me use with this similar job with the Python loop, for loop. So what we can, Python for loop is very straight, you can say straightforward. We can use for, and we can say item in tuple. Tuple is my a, so I can directly print the item, right? I can print the item, that's it. You can see we got all the data printed over here, right? So this is how you can use the for loop. But what I want to keep the track of what is the indices is we are accessing, right? So for that we have to use the enumeration operator. We can see what is the use of it, to track the indices, index of the elements, use enumerator function, right? So how can we use this? This you can say syntax is very simple. We have to use the for loop, and after that you have to use the index and then item. These are the, this is the one of the extra thing we have to add over here, index, and the rest of the thing is quite similar to this way. So we can say index item, then we can say index and item, we can say in enumerate, and we have to pass the tuple, that is my a, right? So as a is my tuple, so inside of this I'll be having handle of index and item both, right? So if I print just, let's say I am printing f string, and inside of this I want to print, let's say index, I can say item, at here I want to print the index, I want to print the item, that is my item. Now if I execute it, now you can see we are getting the print. It is saying item at index 0 is 10, 1 is 20, and so on, and it is printing all the data from the particular tuple here. Okay, now let's see some of the basic operation we can perform through tuples, right? So what we are going to discuss right now, we can see basic operations in tuples, right? So this is something we are going to discuss now. Okay, so let me add, let's say I am using the same tuples. If I print the a, so this is my content right now, right? So what I am going to do right now, I want to change the data, right? So what I want to do, I want to change the, or I can say I want to modify the data from this tuple. Let's say at position index 1, I want to change this from 20 to something, some other data, right? So if you try to do so, if you see a, and at position 1 I want to change it to, let's say 23, right? So if you execute this code, you can see we are getting an error. What is the error? Is saying tuple object does not support item assignment. This is, we are getting a type error. Type error is something which is not allowed you, right? The operation you are doing, something there is wrong, right? So what it is saying is tuple, or you can say tuple object does not support as item assignment. So what that is mean that once you have a tuple already defined, you cannot update the data, right? So can we, you can say uh, can we conclude over here? So we cannot update the data, or you can say we cannot update or modify the existing data in tuple, right? So this is something we got to know right now. So if we have a tuple and we want to perform any update operation, that is something is not allowed, right? So one thing to remember, guys, if any of the data, right, any of the python is sorry, you can say tuple is we are not able to update or modify, then that's why the reason it is called as a immutable, you can say, data type. So similarly, as it is not allowing to update or modify, similarly at the same time it is not allowing you to add some data, right? So we can say adding, or you can say removing, add or remove, right? Or you can say insertion. This operation are not allowed in tuples. Okay, so these are the main reason why we call tuple as a immutable data type. Because of this, we can say because of the above behavior, we call can say tuple is immutable. Okay, because of this above behavior, tuple is immutable. Clear? One more thing to understand over here, guys, as we told that tuple is immutable, but it can hold, or it can, you can say, contain a mutable data type also. What I mean, inside of a tuple you can have a mutable data types, like let's say what is the mutable data type. List is a mutable data type, right? So let's say I have a list L equal to, and I have a data L is equal to 12, 23 and 4, right? So this L is nothing but my mutable, you can say, data. So we can have a mutable data inside of a tuple as well. Let's say what I mean, if I create a tuple with a mutable data, like let's say I'm creating B is equal to, inside of this I'm going to have a sum of the data, let's say 12, 22 and 23, and I'm going to have some list of data over here. So I'm going to say again 12, 1, 1, 1, 4, right? So this is something you can say I am having. After that also I have some data, right? 9, 0, I have 4, 5, right? So if I print B, you can see I can store the data inside of mutable immutable data type, that is my tuple. I am having a mutable data type because we know that list is a mutable data type, but inside of immutable data type we can have a mutable data type as well, right? So as you can see, we can have a mutable data type inside of a immutable data type. So don't you think that we can modify the mutable data type, because it is a mutable data type, this is the subset of this particular set of data, and this subset of data is a mutable. So cannot we, is it not possible to change the mutable data? Definitely it is possible. We can add data, we can remove data, we can update the data, right? So how can we do this, right? Let's see. Let's say I'm going to add some data, or I'm going to modify the existing data from this list, right? So I am trying to modify this 11. Let's see what I can say. So first of all I have to access the list. So how can we access? We have the data at position index 3, right? This is index 1, 2, 3, and this is index 4, right? So if you want to see, I can print, if I print b4, you can see it is printing 90. Sorry, it should be index at 3, right? If I printing index of 3, so you can see we are getting this list. Now let's say I want to change the data from this position this 2, right? The index of 1 of this list, right? So how can we do this? If you want to change the data, let's say I'm saying p of 3, and at the index 3, that I'm going to get the list, and from this list, which what is the index I want to access? I want to access the index 1, right? So this index 1, I want to change the data from 11 to, I want to change it to 50. Let's say I want to change it to 50, and now let me print B, right? You can see now the data is got changed inside of the list, right? Although we are inside of a tuple, we are able to change the data which is there inside of a list. Okay, earlier we tried to change data which is not inside of a list, so we got an error, right? So if you try to see here only, we are trying to we tried to change the data at index 1, which is at 20 right now. So but we tried to change, we got an error. But right now we have a list inside of a tuple, so we are trying to change the data from this list. We are able to do this, right? So not only you can say updating or changing the data, if you try to append some data, or if you want to remove some data, that is also possible. So if I try to do like this way, let's say I'm saying index 3, and at after that I want to say append, right? I want to call an append operation. Let's say I want to insert 100, right? So if you want to insert 100, after that I want to print the value of B. You can see we are successfully able to append the data inside of this list. That means the size of this list is going to increase, right? We are able to increase the data, but you can not change any data which is outside of this list. Okay, so inside of the tuple, the direct data cannot be modified, but if you have a mutable data type inside of a immutable data type, that you can change. Okay, I hope this concept is clear to you guys now. So what is the you can see summary from here we got to know. So we can say, we can say, mutable data type side of a immutable data type, right? And also we can see we can perform, add, modify, or even remove, right? Or you can say delete operation for the mutable data inside of the mutable data. Clear? Have this is very clear to you guys? Okay. So this is very important, guys, to understand. Okay. So we can have we know tuple is a tuple is a immutable type of data, but we can store mutable type of data inside of a tuple. As it is a mutable type of data, so we can update, we can do add, or you can say modify or remove operation for this mutable data type only, not outside of the mutable data type. Here one more thing we want to discuss over here, that if I have a tuple, I can have a tuples inside of a tuple. What I mean, I have a tuple, let's say I'm saying t is equal to, I have a tuple, inside of the tuple I can have multiple tuple as well, right? So I can say 1 comma 2 comma 3, and after that also I can have multiple tuple. So this is one tuple, this is another tuple, let's say 22 comma 34 comma 55, right? This is two tuples, there are two tuples, this is first tuple and this is second tuple. Similar way we can have multiple tuples inside of this particular tuple. So we can have a tuple of strings also, let's say I'm saying Java, and then I can say Python, right? So this way we can have set of tuple inside of a tuple, right? So if you print this tuple t, you can see we are getting the tuple, right? How to access these tuples? Means we will be having now, this is two-dimensional tuple, right? We have first one tuple. After that, let's say I want to print particular, let's say Java I want to print, right? So this tuple is falls into which index? We know the first tuple is at index 0, second tuple is at index 1. So definitely this is falls to tuple index 2, right? So if you want to print the data from this let's say Java I want to print, so we can we say tuple of index 2, and after index, what is the position of Java? That is at index 0, right? So we can say 0, and if I print, you can see we are getting the data from this particular tuple. So this way you can get the data from any of the tuples. Clear? Let us see one more you can see facility, or you can say feature of tuple. What we can do, we can unpack a tuple inside of a tuple, right, by using the star operator. So what we can do, what I mean, we can perform, or you can say we can do unpack a tuple inside of a tuple by using star operator. Okay, so by using star operator we can perform the, you can see we can perform the um, we can perform the unpack operation. Okay, this is called unpack of Python, right? Okay, so let me tell you what I mean over here. So let's say I have a tuple A is called I'm taking first list of data. I'm taking 1 comma 2 comma 4 5 comma 6, and let's say this is my first tuple I have right now. I have another tuple and B. Inside of the B, I want to unpack this tuple A, right? So I am having B as called, let's say 1 1 1 2 comma 1 4 comma 2 3, and inside of this I want to unpack this tuple as oil, right? So what I have to do, I have to use a asterisk, and after I have to use the name of the tuple, right? So we can use asterisk operator over here and pass the name of the tuple, right? So let's say after that I have some more data, let's say 24, and I have another Python. This is a string type of data also I have inside of this tuple, right? So if I print the tuple B right now, you can see the data is got unpacked. This is not a, you can see the data 125, right? This is the data which is coming from this tuple A. So this tuple initially this was in the format of tuple, right? But when it we are unpacking inside of a tuple, now it is completely unpacked and all are right now is a integer type of number, right? Inside of a tuple it is not printing as a within a parenthesis, right? So the tuple is got unpacked. This is called as a unpacking of tuple. I hope it is clear, guys. Okay, so far we are done with the tuples. We have seen what is tuple, how to assign a tuple, how to create a new tuples, and what all are the rules to create a tuple, and after that how to access the data from a tuple, how to slicing the tuple, how to use the loop inside of a tuple. We have seen while loop, for loop, and enumerate function, and after that also we have seen the immutability of a you can say iterate tuple, like we are not able to modify the data inside of a tuple, right? So these are the things we have seen. After that we have also seen that how we can have a mutable data type inside of a tuple, and we also seen that we can modify the data inside of the mutable type of a mutable type inside of a tuple, right? So these are the things we have seen. Also we have seen how to unpack a data which is in tuple format. We want to unpack that inside of a tuple. So all these things we have seen right now. Okay guys, with this we are closing this video over here. I hope you got to know something about the tuples. So next in our next video we are going to discuss on set in Python. So far we have discussed set and list and tuples in Python. So in our next class we'll be covering the set. Okay, and till then stay happy, stay learning. I hope you got to know something, and if you are learning, if you are enjoying the video, if you so don't forget to hit like button. If you have any doubts, comment, and then you can definitely ask me question over there. And also I'm going to upload this file over this into YouTube, or I will be sharing you the link, whichever is better. You can, I'll be update that. Okay, with this, thank you guys, bye bye, see you.